完璧などありえない。この世界は不完全だから美しい。もうバカバカバカ。何？俺は海賊王になる。
なんて美味しさなの。
力を渡した時に言ったことを覚えているかい？食え。違う、そこじゃない。
変態。遅い。
Hello and welcome to More Than Hentai, a podcast that is here to show you that anime is far more than just tentacles and catgirls. There's also countless stories of love, loss, laughs, hope, horror, and happiness that it is dying to be found. And I, Brendan White, the Salt and Pepper Senpai, I'm here to help you find them. More Than Hentai is proudly powered by our friends over at Audio Technica and Dash Water. Please go upgrade your audio and hydration games today. And joining me in the Segoy studio is not only Australia's finest, but also one of my bestest buds who I've shared many a podcast, many a slice, and many a good time with. He's an acclaimed podcaster, game developer, and published writer who is still reasonably new to the world of anime. So listeners, please be gentle. You can find him on them socials at Jono himself. Jono, heck, you bloody legend. Welcome to the studio. How might you be doing?
I'm good, Brendan. I might be a little rusty today. This is probably the longest period of time that's passed that I haven't done a podcast since 2017, thanks to the demise or the untimely death of the Hungry Gamers and our other podcasts. But I'm glad to be, can I say, back on More Than Hentai. Have you had any return guests on this show before, and are you going to fill people in on our history here?
I will fill people in on the history, but Jono, it's clear that you are not a regular listener of this podcast because I have had 4 repeat guests on the podcast now, not including yourself. But yes, listeners, Jono is actually sort of patient zero, you could say, on More Than Hentai. He was my debut lab rat for this podcast concept, and we tack a little ditty called Kuroko's Basketball, which I love. Jono maybe did, maybe didn't. Who knows? The episode, I hope, may one day see the light of day. But I think after that first episode, I learned a lot and the structure of the show changed a little bit. And by the time a few episodes were released after that, I was like, oh, where's this going to fit in? Am I going to have to cut it so it becomes part of the zeitgeist but doesn't make sense in the same way? I don't know what to do. It was a great discussion. But it just feels like, I'm not going to say the Wish version of the podcast as it is today, because that's very disrespectful, but it was certainly was the prototype before the full release came out.
Yeah, I think like in the TV biz, there's like test pilots and like there's talk show hosts who do like mock interviews, and it feels like it was just it's a trial run for Brendan to get his sea legs under him as a host of a new show after doing THG for so long. It was like, let's see if this works. And that one, I thought it went well. I thought it was good fun, but now you know that Brendan doesn't just let anything go out to the listeners. It's got to be that high quality stuff before it gets to your ears.
And it certainly was it was high quality discussion. Like you and I always have a great time on the microphone, but I think just the way the show flowed from that episode into future episodes, like I changed up some of the pacing and some of the episode segments themselves. So it could fit, but I think I've half edited this thing and I know I could probably go back and make it enough where it feels pretty damn close, but I just haven't taken the time to go back. It's one of my big faults. I always look forward, never backwards, for better or for worse.
It's all good. Look forward. That's the way to go. And yeah, I will say, yes, I'm not familiar with the More Than Hentai podcast, and that's because I am not a big anime / hentai fan. So you've got,
not yet.
I'm a challenge for you. I'm like, to use the 90s movie reference, I'm like the nerdy girl at school that you need to turn into an absolute slamming hottie by prom if you want to win the bet with the quarterback at high school. So we'll see if you can succeed, Freddie Prinze Jr.
I think I could. And for the audio listeners playing at home, all we need to do to make Jono into the hottie for the prom is you just got to take your glasses off and change your hair. That's all that's needed. And, you go from probably a 7 to an 8 anyway. Like they're gorgeous girls and guys that they play in these roles anyway. But yeah, the glasses come off and their hair gets cut or styled a certain way. And they're like, oh my God, who is this person?
Let the hair out.
I can see the hotness hiding under those glasses, JP.
Yeah, we'll see. You're embarrassing me, Brendan. Let's just keep going.
Well, let's embarrass you a little bit more, and let's talk about all the great things that you do, because I touched on some things very broadly in the lead in sort of introducing you to the listeners. So let's talk about the Jono backstory from a broad perspective. Then we can narrow it down to your history and touch with anime. But let's talk about who you are, what you're doing, what you've done, anything that you feel comfortable sharing with the listeners out there. Okay,
sure. Well, I am. So, are we assuming people have never heard me speak before up until this point? Is that the?
I'd say that assumption is pretty accurate. Yes.
Okay, sure. So, in my previous life, Brendan and I were part of a podcast network called 8-Bit that did The Hungry Gamers. I was host of Comedy Rewind. We'd love to get people on here and talk about 90s and 2000s comedies and whether or not they hold up. So, I'm a bit of a pop culture zealot, but when I'm not podcasting, I am a writer. I've written a couple of books. I've written a few video games. Trigger Witch is the one that's out that you can play now. The others you'll have to wait a little bit longer to find out about. But so that's probably it in a nutshell. How deep do you really want me to go?
No, I think that's a good level of intrigue. Like, Spy and the Maven.
Yeah.
I think I heard about that book through social media before I technically probably knew you to a degree.
Famous.
Or maybe there was some crossover there. But I do have a copy of that fantastic title and its subsequent sequel, and I'm lucky enough to have one signed by the legendary Jono himself here. So that's a nice
what you get.
Pride of purchase that I've got sitting on the shelf. I'm happy with that one, and you're making
right
games.
Next to the community half-eaten community script.
Yep. Thanks, Winston, the French bulldog, for chewing that up. He's the sweetest boy now, but when he was a puppy, man, he was eating everything. So John McHale's signature is gone.
Oh, really?
Alison Bree's one's still hanging on there, but a few of the others are chomped to bits. So
damn, it's couldn't he have got Chevy Chase's autograph? Not John McHale.
The more time goes by with that, the more you realize how much of a turd burglar Chevy Chase is. The stories that come out about him, you're like, oh man, that whole never meet your heroes thing definitely rings true. He wasn't a hero, but you know what I mean?
He would have been, he would have been a hero to a lot of people that he's let down over the years for sure.
Yeah, so he's a butt sniffer, and Winston sniffs butts and also rips up community signed scripts. But you're writing books, you're writing games, you're making podcasts in a former life. It's good to have you back on the mic because it's been maybe 5 to 6 months since you've been on a podcast microphone?
Yeah, I think it was actually the Biddies was the last 8-Bit episode, wasn't it? So
in December.
And that was my last involvement too. So that's my drought is 5 months long.
There you go.
As of recording.
Maybe this opens up something in you and the need to podcast again starts becoming too strong to ignore, and you release something.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, obviously this is an anime-centric podcast, so let's talk about your history, your journey with anime, however long or brief that might be, because as you mentioned at the start, you're not really accustomed with this fantastic medium, but you've dipped a few toes, you've watched a few things, you've experienced some of the world. So let's talk about that. What was your first memories with anime first and foremost?
How many of your guests have said Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z? Is that pretty much the standard thing for the millennial Australian?
Especially for millennial Australians, that and maybe a sprinkling of say Sailor Moon is the other piece that might get tossed in there too.
Yeah, in that case, I think it would be probably Pokemon. Funny fact, we went to Thailand when I was 6 and brought home a Dragon Ball Z comic that was in Thai, so we couldn't read it at all. But I remember the art from the cover and thinking, this is pretty cool. I never really did get into Dragon Ball Z though. So Pokemon, and then from Pokemon, there was a pretty big gap, and I watched a bit of Full Metal Alchemist when I was at uni, not Brotherhood, the pre-Brotherhood series. Then another.
Have you gone back and watched Brotherhood? Sorry to interrupt, but have you gone back?
No.
Oh, you need to. It's so good. It's the proper telling.
You should probably recommend that for the next More Than Hentai episode I do, maybe.
I think we can make that happen.
And then, yeah, probably another long drought because I probably didn't really watch any other anime until the Studio Ghibli stuff caught my interest, or I started to hear about those films and checked a few of them out. And Your Name, I watched Your Name a few years ago. So like I'm like very basic when it comes to anime in terms of like I'm just watching things based on occasional recommendations rather than indulging in it as a genre or as a medium as it is with many subgenres.
Yeah, you're not actively seeking it out. You're waiting for either something to be recommended or something just to pop up that's getting enough like hype to maybe interest you to check out.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess kind of running inside to that is my on and off or on again, off again love for Japanese RPGs, because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. There's a lot of similar art styles or, writing styles as far as like some of the themes that are consistent through whether it's like a Final Fantasy series or, Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo and just different, Japanese, like even Metal Gear Solid, like that's one of my favorite series ever. And it's super Japanese, even though it's not really set in Japan at all. So I think that there's little touchstones that I've had, whether it's Persona series or Metal Gear or Final Fantasy, where I recognize them when I do watch anime, and I enjoy those kind of touchstones and elements that remind me of some of the cultural things that are very Japanese, or that audience seems to particularly be fond of. And then there's things that I'm not so much a fan of, which we talked about in Kuroko's Basketball, as far as some of the cliches and over the top tropes, I guess you could say. But very pleased that I didn't have to endure that with Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it is fairly trope free. It delves down different paths than a lot of the anime that is around today and was prevalent in yesteryear as well. But yeah, so for anyone that's stopping by More Than Hentai for the first time, the way this podcast works is I bring on a co-host or a new guest every episode, and we work out something that they haven't watched but fits into their realm of what I think they'll enjoy. So typically there'll be some back and forth working out, what genres do they like, things they like and dislike trope wise, and are they fans of things like, fan service or gore or comedy and all that kind of stuff. Talk about some of their favorites, whether that be in anime or in just broader cinema. And then I'll go away, put my little thinking cap on and go, what anime is going to appeal to this person? Then we sit down. Sadly, not together. We've done this separately, but we sit down, we watch that first episode front to back, and then we come back on the podcast here. We talk about the first episode. We go through the whole thing from open to close. So it's going to be full episode 1 spoilers. Nothing's off limits for the first episode. We do not spoil anything beyond episode 1. So no major twists, turns, plot points and things will be unveiled or spoiled or ruined for you here on the podcast. But after this episode viewing and then the subsequent sort of unpacking we do here, we find out, was it a good recommendation? Will you continue to watch? What were your overall thoughts? Et cetera, just to allow you, the listener, to get an understanding if this anime in question is maybe something worth exploring as well, or maybe you just want to get some unique Australian opinions on this anime. Maybe you love the anime, who knows? But yeah, as Jono mentioned, our title in focus for the episode of More Than Hentai is a neo-noir space western known as Cowboy Bebop, which ran for 26 episodes, or sessions as they like to call them, and it aired between 1998 and 1999. Directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, created and animated by Sunrise, the studio behind such titles such as Code Geass, Gintama, Inuyasha, and countless Gundam titles. Spike & Co. have also seen their world translated to manga, 2 video games, a movie, and most recently, a very average live action series on Netflix. Cowboy Bebop can be found on Crunchyroll and Netflix currently, and it holds a score of 8.75 on my anime list, and that is based on 965,000 unique user reviews, and it is currently the 43rd most popular anime overall on the website. And the story, of Cowboy Bebop is as follows. In the expansive reaches of the 2071 galaxy, crime permeates the fabric of society. Humanity has colonized distant planets, mirroring Earth's bursting settlements, yet grapples with familiar vices of murder, drug trade, and theft. Intergalactic outlaws evade justice, pursued by a burgeoning cadre of relentless bounty hunters. Among them are Spike Spiegel and Jet Black, traversing the cosmos in pursuit of criminals to eke out a modest livelihood. Despite Spike's facade of nonchalance, his past torments him, while Jet struggles with his own demons while tending to Spike and their vessel, the Bebop. Their motley crew expands with the addition of the captivating con artist Faye Valentine, the eccentric child genius Edward, and Iron, a remarkable bioengineered Welsh corgi. As bonds form amidst the crew's shared exploits and encounters with a spectrum of colourful animals, Spike's past rears its head, disrupting their lives. A shadowy figure from his history orchestrates a sinister scheme, forcing Spike to confront a dilemma: embrace his newfound family or succumb to the allure of vengeance for past wounds. So, Jono, we are going to be unpacking episode 1 titled Asteroid Blues. Let's start by giving some overall general feeling of episode 1, Asteroid Blues. You can go as broad brush, as short, clear, and concise as you want, or you could go multiple paragraphs worth of verbiage here. But what was your overall impressions of episode 1, Asteroid Blues by Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, so I'll spoil the unaired episode of Kuruko's Basketball. I did not like it. Brendan failed. Brendan failed to find something that was a good fit for me. But I'm pleased to say that you've succeeded this time, because I really thought this was really cool show, man. Like, it's just a really cool story. It's like, it's the pilot episode. It's the first episode. It's kind of a self-contained story from beginning to end that sets up the world that we're in. Like, you just read the synopsis of, I guess, the series, and none of that stuff really was. A lot of that stuff didn't come up. So some of those characters weren't shown. There was nothing that I noticed that was hinting at, like, a figure from Spike's past, unless it went over my head. So I feel like a lot of the plot maybe and his personal storyline wasn't covered in this episode. Maybe that's coming later. But as far as just this first episode, it really set up the world that they're in, or I guess the galaxy that they're in, because it's taking place in space, and some of the lore of that world and the way it works with the bounty hunters, drugs, the law enforcement, the technology they use, the violence of the world. You really got a sense of where this is happening and kind of what the stakes are for these characters. So that was really cool. And as a story that goes for 20, 30 minutes, it really hit me like a short film, like the way that it ended in such tragedy with one of, like, I guess two of the main focused characters of this episode dying, was just like, oh, like it kind of like it the story's kind of finished as far as like this episode, what it's about and what could happen from here. Like, there's not really like anything that pulls me through to the next episode, apart from it's just Spike and what's he going to do next. So yeah, as I sat there and just watched this, I watched it twice. I really enjoyed that introduction to this world as a self-contained thing, and the style, the art style, the music, the intro of this show and the theme song. I don't know where that ranks amongst the many anime that you've seen, but damn, that's freaking awesome. Like, very much like reminiscent to me of Persona 5 and the visuals and music that make that so iconic. But I can see that was probably a really big influence almost 20 years prior to that game coming out, as far as the way that intro played. So yeah, I can look back and see that. So I can see why this is a IP that is still relevant this much later. It's still gorgeous. It's still very poignant. I think, like, there's a darkness to it, but there's like an aesthetic where they're taking their time with a lot of the shots and kind of setting things up to show that world and not having to kind of jump from one thing to another. So very easy to watch, I'd say. And I've probably said enough. I'd like to hear a bit more about what you think.
I love everything you just said there. And first and foremost, I got to say, I'm so happy that you've said such positive things about this anime, because it is very special. Like, yeah, this is an anime that was done in 98. Like I was 12 years old when this thing came out, and I didn't catch it until probably maybe 2 or 3 years later down the track. I got my hands on a VCD from a bootleg store in Chinatown in Sydney way back when and checked it out. But it's just cool is the biggest thing with this world. Like you said, the opening and just the use of that sort of jazz funk soundtrack that is running rampant through all 26 episodes. It's very unique in anime, the soundtrack, the opening, which you referenced as well, also very unique and very fun and memorable. And yeah, you can see that so many things in anime and film and video games, like you touched on with Persona, you can see they've taken some inspiration from Cowboy Bebop years down the track. But yeah, the storytelling is great. The animation stacks up really well still to this day, even though this thing is 26 years old or whatever it is, if my maths is correct right now. So yeah, it's gorgeous to look at. The assortment of characters that we're introduced to throughout this season are really great. And like you mentioned too, each one of these episodes can sort of stand on their own. Like, they are sort of complete bottle episodes on their own, but holistically they connect in, and you see overarching plot threads getting sort of pulled on throughout the run. So even though you do get introduced to characters regularly, episode by episode, that you might not ever see again, or you see a full beginning, middle, and end story come to fruition in the 24 minutes, it still does build brick by brick to the broader story with what's going on here with the crew on the Bebop, and understanding why Spike is the way he is and why Jet Black's the way he is. And like I mentioned, Faye and Edward as well. Like, yeah, we don't even meet those two characters in this first episode, and they're such key cogs in this fantastic space machine. And it's just fun. And I rewatched it again today, and like, I tried to write something funny as far as my general impression. I'm like, it's as if Firefly was animated and Joss Whedon enjoyed jazz instead of sexual harassment and assault, was sort of what I wrote down, because it's got similar beats and similar vibes to Firefly as far as the assortment of characters you meet, and they're unique and larger than life, and it's a bit funny at times, but it's a bit emotional at times, but it's really slick and cool in the way it's shot and it's framed. And it's just a world that I'd like to be part of. Maybe not around the bloody eyes drug scenario and things like that, but I think I'd enjoy living on this spaceship with Jet and Spike.
Yeah, I think the Firefly thing's interesting because there does feel like it's got cowboy in the title. Like, there does feel like a Western influence on this, or like a Tarantino-esque kind of influence, not so much being pulled into that sometimes over the top anime aesthetic that I don't think you're going to see any nosebleeds on this show, or wide-eyed gushing from when a hot chick walks in the room. So I like that, and it does feel like I can see why it was a success in the West, I should say, because it feels like a kind of almost like a Western story or aesthetic in that sense. So yeah, that's a good comparison. And it's I should also say, like, even just like the color palette was muted compared to a lot of other animes. Edge Runner was one that I watched recently, and that being like the cyberpunk world, like this. I guess the like the sci-fi-ness of this. Would you say that there's cyberpunk elements in Cowboy Bebop?
A little bit. Like, I think the way that you use the term muted, it's definitely it's got some cyberpunk vibes. Like, you can see, Jet Black's got a modified robotic arm and things like that, and people are injecting drug dust into their eyes and whatnot. So there is some definite consistencies between comparing Edge Runners and Cowboy Bebop, but just tonally they're very different, where this is a bit more slow burn. It's a little bit more philosophical at times, where
definitely
Edge Runners is just punch you in the face every second, every minute, every hour, every day.
Yeah. And Edge Runners
with neon.
Yeah, Edge Runners, neon's a good way to sum it up, because like the colors on that show are like a feast for the eyes, and it's like just kind of this flashing kind of treat buffet of color. And Cowboy Bebop's the opposite, where it's like, it's raining and there's kind of the muted colors, and it's like they turn the saturation filter down a little bit to drain that out and add probably a dreariness and like a tiredness to this world, which really fits in well. And I think it plays into the characters that we see. Like, none of them are super talkative. They're all kind of, picking their words carefully, not sure who they can trust, and that kind of thing, which makes you, I think it makes you pay attention to what they are saying.
I think so too. And another comparison that I get, especially from just the tone and that color palette with Cowboy Bebop, is something like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Where we're seeing, and we're seeing, in this first episode as well, we're seeing a lot of rain. We're seeing a lot of muted, very neutral colors. There is some use of lighting here and there, but it is more grounded. It's not tropey in the sense where, it's larger than life, and there's unnecessary scandalous women everywhere, and nosebleeds and unnecessary like glasses readjustments and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a grounded world that's believable. Like, it is 2071, so what, it's 57 years ahead of time from us right now as we're recording, but you look at it and go, okay, this is probably like, this historical progression they're showing makes sense. Like, I can buy into what they're putting out there. I'm like, this isn't so far out there that the fantasy and the science fiction is not believable. I'm like, you know what? I'm buying this. I feel that I'd probably be a little downtrodden when you start to see the layers of this world sort of get peeled back, and you hear about the hardships and everything that's going on in as far as all the colonization that's been taking place across the galaxy.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I said, a really good way to introduce that world and kind of ease people into the violence and everything.
Yeah, and the way this episode starts, like, it's bookended by a very monochromatic color palette, where we're seeing these first scenes where we're introduced to Spike, and we get like almost an Undertaker-esque church bell gong going off, where they're having this crazy shootout in a church, and the only color you're seeing in this whole situation with Spike fighting for his life, and you're seeing people shooting all over the place, and there's flashes from gunfire and people getting shot. Only color we're seeing in these sort of opening scenes is the red of the rose, like the rose petals itself. Everything else is, black, white, and gray. And the ending is mirroring that exactly as well. We're seeing a black and white ending with a bit more subdued ED track that accompanies that. But so they bookend these first scenes with the end of the episode. We only get, like some brief, maybe like 30 seconds here with this sort of shootout happening within the church. And then it cuts straight into the OP. And it's such a vibe and tonal change compared to that intro, because it is very art housey. It is very like noir and very sort of like, what's going on here? Is this like an A24 film I'm watching? And then we get the OP, and the track Tank by a band, The Seatbelts, just gets going, and you can't but not get the toes tapping, hitting your knee, head bobbing. Like, it is a time. It's one of my favorite opens in all of anime still to this day.
The tuning on that double bass is just like so loose and like fat. It's just like dun 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 dun. It's just so good.
Yeah, and then it's like you get a little bit of, there's like pretty much no lyrics to the intro, but you get like this 3, 2, 1, let's jam, and you can't help but go, man, this is fun. I'm in the mood. I'm riding along in the bebop. Let's go. So after this intro and throughout the opening, we do see some of the characters I mentioned in the synopses of Cowboy Bebop. You see some very quick shots of them, mostly the silhouettes and really minimal art style. And it's so sexy and so cool, where it's just black and white with pops of yellow and purple and blue. Like, it contrasts so well. And after this really, really, really funky intro, like if you haven't listened to Tank by the Seatbelts, or just the whole soundtrack for Cowboy Bebop, go find it on Spotify, because there are some toe tappers in there, and it is just a jam session. But so after the OP, it jumps to space and we get some harmonica vibes. So straight away we get that space western feeling where we've got some harmonica backing going on, and we're seeing what life is out in space from just a broad lens. We're seeing ships flying around and they're taking gateways to sort of teleport across the galaxy, and we're seeing colonies and all this kind of stuff. And those art house vibes are really, really highly emphasized in this open where, they're sort of setting the scene, showing us the world, and then they sort of narrow that lens and we're introduced to Jet Black as he turns on the light, and sort of when he turns on that light, the art house and the noir vibes just go out the window because it was really muted, and then let there be light. And it's just normal present day in parentheses in 2071. And we see Jet and Spike hanging out on the Bebop.
Yeah, it's just a real chilled kind of interaction between two people who you can instantly tell, what the dynamic is. I think Spike's complaining about his bell pepper ramen or whatever he's munching on there.
Yeah, beef, and Jet's like,
beef.
Grub's on. So Jet's sort of, I guess, the cook on the ship, and he's like, Spike, food's ready. Come on. What is it today, Jet? And he's like, oh yeah, beef and bell peppers. Starts eating. He's like, yo, brother, like, where's the beef? Where is it? And he's like, dude, we're broke. And then he's like, how are we broke? Like, we had all this money from the last bounty hunter. And he's like, well, because you destroyed this and you damaged that and you ruined this. So all this profit we had got sucked away due to your recklessness and wildness. So
ain't that the way it goes?
Yeah, so it's very upsetting. You can see these two boys are dead broke, and then sort of Jet let Spike know of the next mission they're going on, and they're going to try and take down Asimov Solensen, who is a member of one of the many syndicates roaming the galaxy. And they find out he's hiding out in Tijuana of all places. It's not like he's hiding out on asteroid belt 26 in the Nimbulus sector or something. He's like, no, he's just down on Earth, hanging out in Tijuana. I'm like, okay, cool, fair enough. And so they have a bit of back and forth about not really wanting to get involved in this, but Jet manages to convince Spike to go on this mission to try and take down this bounty. We get some really, really cool scenes here where once they've accepted, we've got Spike going down to sort of his like little red solo ship, and there's some really tight shots and scenes here where they're focusing on like various levers getting pulled, switches getting pressed, the reflection of the lights on the ship, and just like light rays happening through the sky in space. And for something that's 26 years old, these scenes here, I'm just like, God damn, like this is beautiful. And it's so old school in the art style, but it just feels still so good to this day. And I was like, man, I'm so impressed by this. Like Sunrise were on one when they were putting together Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it is like that really. I mean, it's classic anime to me, but what do I know? But it's like the painted backgrounds, like almost watercolor painted backgrounds with the characters drawn on top, and it's a thing that Ghibli did or does all the time, and it works really well with the sci-fi setting too.
It's just a good time, JP, and it's just the nostalgia fan in me. I'm just like, man, they just don't animate like this anymore. Like that's what I kept telling myself because I rewatched the entire season over the last couple of weeks, knowing that we were going to record this episode. And yeah, I was just like happy the entire time, but just taking in just the visual feast that Sunrise sort of prepared for us here. Like it is so well drawn and so well animated, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. And so yeah, we see Spike jump into his little red ship and starts flying down back to Earth and heads to Tijuana. And so then we jump forward and we're in Tijuana now, and we can see that I guess Mexico hasn't changed much. It's still overrun with crime and poverty. Yeah. It's looking like a pretty derelict place to be. And we then get introduced to three old men sitting around in this bar playing cards, reminiscing about the glory days, about how they all helped dig a gate. Like one of them at first is like, oh, I worked so hard 40 years ago digging this gate. And they're like, hey, you idiot, like we helped you as well. And so there's this back and forth between, I think the three guys' names, I wrote them down, I could have got it wrong. Like it was Jobin, Carlos, and Antonio, I think were the three old dudes that we're introduced to here, just having a bit of back and forth in this bar. And just a little nothing line, but like, again, helps build the world, helps sort of show what's been going on here in this universe for the last 57 years or so since we're recording here in 2024. And then we see Asimov enter the bar with his beautiful wife, Katerina, in tow. And they roll in, go to the barman, ask for a Bloody Mary. And clearly we find out quickly that that's actually code because he's a drug dealer, Jono. He's selling drugs. And anyway, the barman sort of says, hang on, come out back, Asimov. We'll see if we can make a deal. And they go out the back, and Asimov pulls out this drug called Bloody Eye, which is like a liquid vial of this thing. And so they're talking about making this deal. But the barman's like, whoa, we need to make sure this is the real thing. I demand proof that it works. So Asimov whips out like this little syringe thing. And at first I'm like, oh no, am I going to see a needle injected into this man's eye? Because he pulls it right up in front of his retina. And I'm like, I always get queasy like with that in anything, JP. Anytime there's a needle in the eyeball, no thank you, ma'am. So I'm like, nice. Here we go. But then we find out, oh no, it's just like it turns this liquid in the vial into like a gas almost. He gasses himself with the Bloody Eye drug, and then you can see the drug starting to take effect. Immediate bloodshot eyes and paranoia starts to set into Asimov. But as he's sort of feeling this hit go through his body, we see a group of syndicate thugs arrive, and shit's about to go down, JP.
Yeah, the introduction to Asimov and his wife's. Now, what's his wife's name? Do you know?
Katerina.
Yeah, Katerina. I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Like, that's different for a cartoon to have a pregnant character. And then she orders like a Bloody Mary. I'm like, okay, that's also different. Is she gonna? The 90s was crazy, man. What's going on here? Like, no,
it's even crazy in 2071, JP. Like, your Bloody Marys when you're 6 months pregnant, It's all good out there in Tijuana.
And there's like, I don't know if it's here or later, but there's a very gratuitous shot of her mummy milkers,
Of all the terms you could have used.
Well, it's like,
I love that.
It's almost like that. I know it's Japanese and they love doing this in anime. They just couldn't help themselves. They have to like objectify the pregnant woman,
I think they have a quota.
Yeah.
I think they've got a quota where it's like must have one set of boobies every 20 minutes at least. I
was like, okay, so we're perving on the pregnant chick. Sweet. That's awesome. Pregnant women are hot too. And then, there's the big twist later that she's not pregnant. And that, I thought that was kind of turning it around a bit. But it's an interesting fight, I'll say.
Yeah, it's a cool exchange, and yeah, we do get that busty shot of the mummy milkers, as Jono called them there, where we've got Asimov out the back with the bartender attempting to negotiate this deal, and Katerina's waiting at the bar, and we sort of get a shot. You can't really see, it's sort of from the neck down, so it's just like a bust shot where she's leaning on the bar, and you can see the three old men also being like, whoa, mamma mia, like who is this smoking thing at the bar here? And this group of syndicate thugs arrive, big time shootout, and it's opened up straight off the rip where we see one dude get shot right through the head straight away. And I love in media, whether it be anime, film, games, TV, when we do see a bullet go through something, you can sort of see through the other side, like you can see daylight through the back or whatever's happening behind it. And so we get random thug XY shot through the dome. We get a really brief shot, being able to see right through his forehead, right through the back, and whatever's happening in the background. And so, we get bullets are flying. This bar is getting shot to hell. Katerina's now hiding sort of behind the bar, shooting from safety. The three old boys have ducked and covered. And Asimov now, in full Bloody Eye drug rage, just, hulks up almost. And he is just tripping, goes on a rampage, killing members of this syndicate, left, right, and center. And then we get like a pre-Matrix moment here where one of the syndicate members shoot a bullet aimed directly at Asimov's head, and we sort of see the perspective of the bullet coming towards his head. And because I guess this Bloody Eye drug of champions slows time in a way, he just does the old bullet dodge and just goes, ha, 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 steps out of the way of the bullet, back into real time again. Bullet goes flying past into the wall, and he finishes that moment. And that's the end of this scene here where you're just like, man, this is really escalating. It's gone from really chill on the spaceship, talking about being poor and, beef and peppers to dudes getting shot through the head. There's blood flying everywhere. But this whole fight scene is so well animated, and just seeing little things just like the destruction of this bar play out in real time. Like you can see bits of the bar getting shot up and glass shattering from the alcohol bottles. The ceiling fan gets a bit of focus, and even just seeing the little splatters of blood hit on the ceiling or on the walls. Like it is very, very well done again by Sunrise.
Yeah, and that's bringing the whole Western and Tarantino thing back for me is just like the violence, the escalation, the tension, and then the sudden kind of gore out of nowhere. Very cool.
It just works. So after this moment, we go to a complete tonal shift, and we jump across to Spike, and he's sitting in this tent with this Native American old man called Laughing Bull, and they're just smoking a peace pipe, having a good old time in this tent, because Spike's had to go see this guy to get some advice on where this bounty is, which was sort of briefly mentioned. We're on the ship, and Jet was sort of saying he's silly for trying to trust this old man. But anyway, here we are in this tent with Laughing Bull, and Laughing Bull is sort of attempting to read this sand that he's dropping through his hands onto the ground to get an understanding of what's going on. And in this moment, Spike's sort of like, help me out, old man. Like, what am I doing here? And after he's done reading the sand, he goes, the red-eyed coyote will appear at the north end of town. And like, as a viewer, you're like, I kind of understand that, because we just saw Asimov with his red eyes rampaging just a minute ago. But Spike is sort of like, what are you talking about, old man? And sort of buys into it a little, but doesn't completely. Gets up to leave. And Laughing Bull then calls Spike a swimming bird, and he says that he will meet a woman who will kill him. But Spike sort of dismisses this part, laughs it off, and as he's leaving the tent, he's like, it's all good, don't worry about it. I've already been killed by a woman once before. And so you're like, I have so many questions, JP. What is going on? Why is he finding so much humor in this? And why is he going to get murdered by a woman a second time and not really care, it seems?
Yeah, and I still don't know. So.
What did you think of Laughing Bull? Like, did you think, like, going from this? Well, I guess it ties into the whole Western archetype, right? Where we've got a shootout in a bar, mixing in Native Americans and that type of scenario here, where we are seeing throwbacks and tropes, I guess, to Western film that we've watched, I guess, throughout the 19th century, 20th century.
Yeah, I think it probably places, I mean, obviously it's happening in Mexico, but it places the story in America even more, if you weren't sure. Because sometimes you have these anime characters and they're drawn a certain way, and you're not sure, like, am I meant to think that this person's like Japanese, or am I meant to think they're a Western character? I'm not really sure what the drawing style is for Western versus Asian, but having like a character like him, it's very clear, like, okay, this is an American story at this point. Anyway. Yeah,
it felt familiar. Like we've said it a few times now, we're in 2071, but it still felt like this is a story that is getting told, right now in a way, because we're seeing a lot of characters and a lot of universes and scenarios play out where you're like, I can understand what's happening here. So we have this situation with the Laughing Bull. Spike gets up, leaves, and then we sort of flash back to the bar that's been shot to hell, and Jet is now in the bar. We realize that everyone in the bar has since done the runner. So Katerina, Asimov are gone. The three old boys have done the runner as well, and Jet's just in there helping himself to a little bit of booze in the bar. More syndicate members arrive. Jet quickly takes cover and then ambushes the guys. And in this moment, you sort of realize like how much of an imposing figure Jet is when he grabs one of the guys around the neck, and he's jacked, like muscles, big man. Yeah. And then, holy shit, his left arm is like robotic. Like this guy, you don't mess with Jet Black.
Yeah, I guess, are we meant to see him as like the Chewbacca to Spike? Is that kind of what we're looking at? The muscle? If we want to
go some Star Wars references, he's definitely the Chewie to Han. But I feel he's more of like a, he's the 1B. Like, I don't think he's a full background character. Like, and they do take time, which I'm happy about in this run, to explain who he is, where he come from, how he came to be. So you do get a lot of time to understand the 4 leads and who they are and the hardship they've gone through. But yeah, in this moment, he just very much seems like he's just the muscle and the chef, I guess, on the Bebop. Yeah, so we get that really quick interaction where, Jet takes these syndicate members down, grabs this guy around the neck and, demanding, tell me what you know type of thing. We don't get to hear what he knows because then it jumps into the next scene and Spike's flying around in his little spaceship. And it's funny, he's talking to his ship here because the ship's running out of fuel. And he's like, oh, it seems you're starving too. So they pull down to land. And then we also conveniently or coincidentally, I don't know which one it is, Spike and Asimov end up bumping into each other into sort of like, local restroom. And you can see Asimov starting to come down from that bloody eye hit earlier, is getting a little bit more normal, a little less freaky and twitchy. And in this moment, we also get the little mid-episode stinger. So we sort of know that we're halfway through episode 1 here. And they have this brief little interaction in the bathroom. Spike leaves and he ends up running into Katarina, knocking her down, knocking her over. She had a bag of groceries. Food and produce goes flying. He helps her put it all back in the bag, or at least we think so, because he then goes to walk away and he's got a hot dog in his mouth on the horizontal, like sticking out of his cheeks. And she's like, excuse me, man, like that's mine too. And he goes, oh, sorry. My, what do you say? My stomach took over my brain. And so she sort of lets him keep the hot dog. But then he's like, oh, joke's on you, and pulls out another like 10 things that he stole in that one moment. And it's a cute situation where they're sort of laughing it off, but you can also see how much of a cheeky little bugger Spike can be. Like he's got quick hands, Mr. Spiegel.
So is that a raw hot dog that we're meant to be seeing in his mouth? Or...
Maybe. I thought it was in the bun and everything. I thought it was like a full dog.
You don't buy a full dog at the supermarket though.
You could if it was like Costco.
Yeah, maybe so.
Costco.
That part of the episode's definitely like the most anime comedy thing that happens, and it was fine. Like it didn't put me off. I'll say, but it was bordering on silly, which could take you out of something that's as grounded as this has been up until this point. But I think it's endearing enough. Everyone knows what it's like to be hungry. I don't think I'd ever steal food from a pregnant woman. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mess with a hungry pregnant woman, that's for sure. But maybe he knows something that we don't.
Maybe like Spike, he's very free spirited and happy go lucky, at least so it seems. But you can see that he's at least it feels to me in this first episode as well. Even though he comes across as aloof and a bit quirky and silly, he's playing a game and he's thinking ahead. Yeah.
So did he recognize Asimov inside the building? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's playing the long game.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's just downplaying it where he just stopped to go to the bathroom and get some food and fuel up his ship. So anyway, after Spike and Katarina have this moment with the food, she ends up following him out to the service station fuel area, I guess they are here, and Spike's fueling up his whip. And they start having a bit of a discussion. She's talking about his ship and how it's seen some things, like it's old and it's been many places. And they start talking about the past. And he throws this line in, Spike, to I guess get them off the scent that he's a bounty hunter, where he's like, I'm a traveling performer. I've been all over the place. I'm fun. It's all good. And then she asks if he's ever gone to Mars, because her goal here, she just wants to start a new life on Mars. Mars is meant to be great. But Spike sort of, I guess, throws a bit of dirt on that here, where he's like, that's where I was born. But you know what? Mars isn't all it's cracked up to be. You see the disparity between the rich and the poor and the crime and the good and the bad and all that kind of stuff. And so they have a little exchange and interaction about that. And then out of nowhere, old Asimov comes back. And I don't know if it's the bloody eye has sort of still got some after effects going on, but it just feels like Asimov's just a piece of shit and a bit of a bad dude. And he strangles Spike, pretty much rendering him unconscious here. Nearly kills him until Katarina's like, no, stop. And so he lets him go. Spike falls to the ground and sort of passes out. And just as he's passing out, we get another Western reference here where Katarina goes, adios, cowboy, as they jump in the vehicle and speed off.
Yeah, so you said that it's the drugs maybe wearing off, but is Asimov aware at that point that Spike's there for him? Because that's what I had taken from that scene.
I reckon he's just a jealous bad dude.
Right.
I get the feeling, and you see sort of later, like near the back end of this episode, where it just feels like this guy is just not a good human, irrespective of the bloody eye or not. I just feel that he came out of that bathroom, saw Spike talking to his wife, who's smiling and having a good time, and he went, you know what? I'm going to kill this dude. Because when they were driving away, he sort of says, like later, and he's like, you know what? If you didn't stop me, I could have killed that guy. Like, one more minute, or like, it's funny because the voiceover, he says 1 more minute, but on the sub track, he says a few more seconds. So either way, Spike was going to die anywhere between 5 seconds and 60 seconds, I guess. Right. But you can see he's not a good egg, old Asimov.
I noticed there's a few discrepancies between subs and the actual dub. Is your understanding that the subtitles are more of a direct translation from the original, and then the dub is something where they're trying to more match the mouth to the audio? Yeah.
You are 100% correct in that line of thinking, JP. Yeah, the sub is typically aligned with the Japanese dub and the original voice work, and then the English dub is usually just to align. I'm forgetting the words. Like Kieran told me about it the other day. It was like, I think he said lip flaps. I think that was the technical term. Okay. So they just try and align the words in English with the lip flaps that were animated initially when they were speaking in Japanese. So that's why you do see some contextual change, some tonal change, different word usage, just to sort of fit in with the way that mouth's moving and those lip flaps are working.
Interesting. There you go.
Good observation, JP.
Yeah. I can figure some things out.
You're a smart man. So, we after that moment, we see Jet arrive on the scene here just as Spike is starting to regain consciousness. And in this moment, we get a little bit more context about Bloody Eye and what it is. And we find out that it's like the latest high-end drug that's taken over the galaxy. Everybody wants it. It's so high-end and expensive and sought after. It actually takes 2 months to create one singular vial. So you can start seeing what Asimov's carrying around on himself. You know, it's big money, big time value here. And you make sort of some connections there. So, okay, that's why all the syndicate's chasing after this guy. Yeah. But they also say in this moment too, where they're like, syndicate people just keep coming after this guy and they keep all dying. Like no one can get Asimov. And so he goes, man, like are Spike and Jet just silly boys doing this? Or I guess they're just that desperate for money so they can put some beef in with their peppers.
We all do crazy things for a bit of beef.
Ain't that the truth, JP? So from there, we jump into the next scene. We see the 3 old boys again, sitting around a table, playing cards. So we're at a new establishment now. It's like a restaurant or a bar. I can't really understand. We only see the outside of this building, but they're outside in some public tables playing cards. They're complaining again, reminiscing about the times of yesteryear, and they've moved away from when they dug this big gate and installed this big gate. Now they're talking about crops and all the mad farming they've done. And it's I like that there is this sort of continuity here with these 3 old boys playing a part in these 2 scenes. And then we get Asimov arriving again, and he rolls in and he sits down beside the owner of this establishment outside. And the owner, very Western again here, JP. He's got the poncho on. He's got the hat that's turned down. You can't see his face. And they exchange some code words about what they're here for as far as wanting to sell some drugs. There's some back and forth here. We find out that Asimov's got 50 packs or 50 vials of Bloody Eye, and he wants 30 million woolongs for these 50 packs. And the owner's like, nah, man, that's way too much. I'll give you 15 million woolong. They have a bit of back and forth. And then we find out, even though I think we all knew straight away, or at least I did you know, JP, that the man under this hat and poncho was Spike, or did you think it was just another shady business owner?
I didn't catch it, no. I didn't.
Okay, so it was a bit of a cool moment here where he sort of jumps to attention. He's like, haha, joke's on you, takes the hat off and does the big reveal that it wasn't the shady owner that wants to buy drugs. It's actually Spike Spiegel, bounty hunter extraordinaire.
He's definitely got a flair for the dramatic. Like he could have kind of approached Asimov the first time he met. He could have had the jump on him straight from, the start of this meeting. But no, he goes through the whole process of negotiating a good rate for the drugs that he doesn't intend to buy.
Yeah, I guess like he did say to Katarina that he's a traveling performer. So I guess maybe there is a bit of a performance art to what he's doing here as far as taking down these bounties and making a little bit more fun and entertaining. And I guess maybe that's why when they said at the start about all the damage that he caused in that previous bounty that offset all the profit is probably because he was doing similar shenanigans like this. So it paints a picture that he's just a good time boy. But yeah, they have some cool back and forth here. Initially just with a bit of a verbal stoush and Spike's really sort of putting the boot into Asimov where he's like, I take no thrill in cheap bounties. Like you're trying to sell $30 million worth of Bloody Eye, but your bounty's only worth $2.5 million. Like you're small time, like you're not worth the effort. And they have some back and forth. Asimov talks a bit of smack about his outfit and how silly he looks in the poncho and the cowboy hat. And then this leads into a fist fight. And this scene, it's really fun. It's really well animated, and it's overlaid with this great jazz funk track that's just like, again, got me sort of dancing in my seat as I'm watching it. It's just like, it's a good time.
I was really glad to have that music come back in at this point. Kind of makes you perk up a bit and go, all right, what's going on here? What's the story? What's the dance of this fight happening? It's kind of like a waltz.
I wonder if they took like a bit of homage with this usage of music from like, the cantina in Star Wars or something, where we get a lot of that type of vibe, only in, fleeting moments in Star Wars, but it's a constant throughout here where space Western with a really cool jazz funk accompaniment. Like I can see it.
Yeah. Sci-fi and jazz. It's probably not a lot of times they've been fused. So it might be a good pull there. Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, we're sort of shifting into the final act of this first episode here. The fist fight's going on, but yet again, another wave of syndicate cronies arrive. Guns are blazing. We get another big time shootout. There's people with guns. There's spaceships flying in and shooting things from this way and that way. And there's a moment here where I'm like, whoa, they really did it, where Katarina's taking cover and she gets like grazed by a bullet in the stomach. And you're like, oh no, they're really going to kill a kid in like the first episode of this? Like, what? And then you find out that it was all an act, and that pregnant Bella was actually just hiding the 50 drug vials, JP. I'm like, ooh, what a swerve.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, what'd they say each vial was worth?
If we're going to do 50 into 30 million, what's that? 600,000 woolongs each, if my maths is correct?
A lot of woolongs, let's say
so
that.
Many woolongs.
And that was the moment I was referring to earlier, as far as, why is this pregnant lady drinking these drinks and going through all these dangerous situations and messing around with drugs? And it turns out she's not putting an unborn baby at risk. She's just putting herself in danger. That's a lot better. Yeah. But it's a good cover. Like, no one suspects the pregnant lady, that's for sure.
Not at all. Not
Not
like
me.
Any budding listeners out there that are wanting to get into a life of petty crime, just have a fake pregnancy belly and hide all the things you're stealing in there, I guess. Like, we don't condone theft here, but in 2071, anything goes.
That's it.
Yeah. So that moment, it was like a record scratch jaw drop for me the first time I saw it, when I'm like, no way. Like, because they don't reveal
instant,
the drug straight away. Yeah, it marinates for a few seconds. You're like, what? This woman just wants to go to Mars and live a simple life and get away from all the crime and badness and raise this child. And then you're like, oh no, it's just drug baby.
Yeah.
So
and the drug's red as well. So like, there's a bit of a confusion, like, is this her guts that are spilling out, or is it, it's these little vials? Okay.
Yeah. So after that dismay has been removed from my person, we see Asimov and Katarina. They flee. They jump into their little space shuttle and they fly off amidst a hail of gunfire and rockets and just general destruction. And Spike's given chase. And again, in this scene, the music is so good. It's so perfectly accompanying the scenes play out, whether it be the combat, the chase, the quiet moments. Like, just the usage of music in Cowboy Bebop is some of the best you'll see in any anime still to this day. And yeah, this part was cool. And then we see, bad boy Asimov go, you know what? We're not going to get out of this alive unless I shoot up again. So he rips out another bloody eye. But this time he doesn't even turn it into dust. Like he doesn't put it in the little dispenser. He just like squirts this thing and gets pure bloody eye into his now bloody eye. And you can see he is just peaking hard. And it's escalating within the cockpit of this shuttle. And you can see in this moment, because they're flying through around Tijuana, and then they sort of get out into orbit. Spike's still giving chase into orbit, and they're sort of, out of, I guess, the planet's air here and into space. And in these moments, you can see sort of Katarina starting to realize that, all hope is lost. She's never going to get out of here. She's never going to see Mars. She's never going to maybe even have a child down the line to raise on Mars. And so it's a really dire moment, because we've got Asimov just like white knuckling red iron in this space shuttle, just trying to get away from all this heat. Katarina realizing her life is ruined and she's never going to be able to escape from Asimov. And there's this next scene that plays out here, JP. That's another one where it just hits like a truck, and it feels like the brakes are just slammed on, because we've still got throughout this whole scene the jazz funk accompaniment going on. Then out of nowhere, music stops dead, and we hear a single gunshot, and you realize that Katarina's made the decision in her head, the only way she's going to get out of this is by killing her own husband, and she shoots him in the head in the ship, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, so there's a lot you can kind of read into in this sequence. Like, even going back to Asimov taking that next hit of drugs, is he doing it because he thinks it's going to help them escape, or is he just a junkie at this point who can't help but take that extra hit in that moment, despite what's going on, despite the danger they're in? The drugs have overpowered. They've got that much of a hold on him that he can't think of anything else. And when she makes that decision that all hope is lost, is she recognizing that she's lost him to his addiction? Or is she realizing that, their numbers up because they're surrounded, or they haven't got a hope of escaping? The fact that she actually doesn't just say, like, stop, that they've got us, let's turn ourselves in. She actually pulls a trigger and puts one in his head. I think that it's probably more that she realizes she's a prisoner to her life with him, and that's he's not in control of himself, and therefore she's out of control as well. So yeah, there's a lot you can kind of take from that's not exactly said in dialogue. Do you think?
I agree. Like, there's so many, like, just everything you just mentioned then, as far as, she feels like a prisoner that's trapped under Asimov taking that hit because it's gone from maybe chasing a better life to just chasing that next high with him. And it feels like when you chuck all that together and try and, pick it apart to sort of work out what the right answer is as far as what she was feeling, I reckon it's a bit of everything. Like, she feels defeated. She knows in this moment they're not going to escape because Spike's on her tail, the Syndicate are on their tail. There's law enforcement and space police and other bounty hunters all circling on them in space in this moment. And all Asimov's thinking about is just getting out of there and getting high. And maybe she's realized she's lost her husband. She's lost their potential nice life in Mars, and she's just lost herself. And so I don't know if her shooting him in this moment is like a remorseful thing, like she's doing it from a good place because he's going out now in a better way, being taken down by someone that loves him, and you assume he loves her as well, as opposed to getting shot to death by the Syndicate or Spike or whoever. So I don't know if there is sort of like some kindness to this bullet that's getting fired into this guy's head in this moment, but just the way it's animated and the use of sound again, where it was just music, dead silence as that gunshot goes off. It's like everybody in the galaxy, it feels like, would have heard that gunshot for some reason. Yeah,
you can't really tell if it's a mercy kill where she's putting him out of his, avoiding the misery that's coming, or is she like taking revenge against him for the situation that he's put her in through his actions and through his, his choices that brought them there. Yeah, and I think that it's not perfectly, like, maybe it's clear if you've watched it enough times or if you understand that world better than I do. But the fact that it's not clear to me, I think that just adds to the experience of watching it, because it gives you something to think about.
And that's what is constant throughout this anime as well. There's a lot of symbology. There's a lot of deeper meaning at play here. It's not always just surface level stuff. And I like that there's no, like, we've just been unpacking that scene here for the last few minutes, and there's like no right or wrong answer. Like, there's nothing definitive unless we were to talk to the writer and the studio and say, tell us the true meaning behind this. Like, we could interpret this a million different ways as far as what Katarina was feeling in this moment and why she did it. And like you said, I think it's the sign of really good storytelling, and it's the sign of a piece of IP that goes, what, this has got its hooked into me. I want to know why. I want to know more about this world. Like, even though we do see it bookended by black and white, there is so much gray and ambiguity in this anime as well, where it just makes you think. It makes you wonder, and it makes you want more.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but so after she shoots her husband Asimov right in the dome, one-shot kill, clean kill, respect that. We see Katarina for one last time, and sort of Spike's pulling up beside, and he's just realized what's happened. He sort of can see that Asimov's been shot by Katarina, and you can see her in this moment. She says adios one more time. We don't get the adios cowboy again, but we get adios. And then their ship gets shot to pieces by the Syndicate and other various space baddies. And so the ship's shot up. And then the last scene we see here with Katarina, before we jump back to the Bebop, we see her now lifeless body floating in space, and there's bloody eye vials floating all around her in zero gravity. And it's a beautiful yet eerie scene. And it's only like for a couple of seconds or a few frames, but it is still stunning again, JP.
Yeah. And I mean, up until this point, those two characters are the ones we've seen the most, probably, apart from Spike. And that's what I was kind of referring to at the top, where it feels like a self-contained short film, because these characters that we've been, whether you like them or getting to like them or fond of her, feel sorry for her, empathize, whatever it is, they're gone. And so to me, it was kind of like, oh, well, that's the end of their story. And it was just kind of getting to know them. Like, I was watching this thinking, like, is he going to be like the big bad through the whole season? Is she going to maybe like be a love interest to Spike? Because there's a bit of chemistry there with the groceries and everything. But no, they're gone. Move on to the next problem in the next episode, I guess.
And I thought exactly the same the first time I watched this. I assumed that this story was going to play out, maybe not season-wide, but at least for a few more episodes. And yeah, it certainly felt like they were teasing some Spike Katarina. She's going to jump from the dark side to the light side here and get away from the Drago Asimov and join Spike and become a bounty hunter on the Bebop. Or maybe they're going to retire together on Mars or something. Who knows? But no. Rug was pulled out from under us within these 20 odd minutes, and they're both dead from various sort of bullet wounds. And so after that adios, we're back on the Bebop. Jet's cooking again. Spike is hanging out in another part of the ship doing some martial arts training while feeling very somber and reflecting on what just happened, staring out into space. So we got Spike. We can see he's a good fighter. Like we saw, even though he's a bit silly and quirky and animated and a traveling performer, you can see he's good with his hands. Like, even though he's funny and cracks wise, he's a bit of a badass and will take you down, it feels like. So we see him doing some training. Jet comes in. He's like, dinner's ready. And Spike's like, what's for dinner? And lo and behold, it's beef and peppers again. We don't know if there was beef in it this time. We don't know if they got paid the 2.5 million woolongs for the bounty here. So
I feel like they wouldn't.
Who knows if they're broke?
I don't know if Spike can, like, is it a dead or alive bounty, or is it a capture bounty?
I'm not too sure. I probably should have tried to freeze it, because when they were doing the initial discussion about the Asimov bounty, it did pull up like his criminal
Yeah.
card, you could say, with the bounty figure, but I didn't read to see if it was dead or alive. So I'm curious.
And then,
I'm curious
and then
to
on
know.
top of that, like I'm pretty sure it wasn't Spike who pulled the trigger. Like she took him out herself, so that probably removes the need to pay a bounty. And then with all the syndicate being responsible, it makes me wonder, like, did Spike go through all that and then have to just walk away with nothing in his pocket? Probably it's just like a wasted opportunity and a waste of life as well.
Yeah, all he got out of it was a free hot dog, which is, pretty sad to think about, because they even showed like when they had to take the gateway to sort of travel across the galaxy, it charged them 7,500 wulongs just to do that. So they're already, they're in the red.
More
so
wulongs,
they're definitely probably not sort of making bank off this failed bounty, I guess. But we find out, beef and peppers again. But then there's just this cool little scene before the ED cuts in where Jet's smoking a cigarette, and then like after they say, it's time for dinner, because it's zero gravity on the ship, but I guess they've got boots that sort of keep them stuck to the ground. Jet like puts the cigarette out of his mouth and like flicks it across the room, and it just floats straight over to Spike. He grabs it and has a little drag, and I'm like, you know what? Smoking sucks and it's not cool, but that scene is very cool.
Yeah, especially in 1998. Wasn't
everybody be smoking?
Yeah,
you were probably smoking back then, JP. Everybody was smoking.
Little 10-year-old,
little 11-year-old or 10-year-old Jono. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. Smoke.
Yeah, so we get this little cool scene. Again, we don't promote theft and we don't promote smoking. Smokers are jokers around here. But we get Spike grabbing the cigarette, cuts the ED. We get a little bottom graphic that says, "See you, Space Cowboy." And you're just like, yes, this is cool. I feel like a badass watching this. And then the ED kicks in. And like I said at the start, it really bookends these opening scenes where we're getting more of these noir vibes, very muted color palette where it's black, white, and gray with occasional pops of red just from the rose again. The rose is the only thing showing red in the ED. The song is still funky, but it's a little bit more subdued. So the song, it's a song by the Seatbelts again, featuring Maya Yamane, and this song's called The Real Folk Blues. A little bit of a slower pace compared to Tank, but still very distinctive in the anime game, very distinctive in just even in like general television. If you want to broaden it out to live action, you don't really see many shows using this type of soundtrack to accompany what they're doing, but it just works. And it got me really excited the way this episode ended. We do get the on the next episode, if you watch through the credits, and we get Jet and Spike doing some voiceover work talking about episode 2, known as the Stray Dog Strut, where we're introduced to another one of the crew, Iron, which is bioengineered Welsh Corgi dog, which is fantastic. But JP, that is the end of episode 1 of Cowboy Bebop, known as Asteroid Blues. You said you enjoyed it, but let's talk, like, do you have a favorite scene, a favorite moment? Is there something that stood out to you more than anything else during this 24 minutes or so?
I mean, I think as I reflect, it's probably is the ending and just how like unexpected, sudden, and sad it is. But the honestly, like the theme song at the front of the episode is probably the thing that I think about the most, and that I want to rewatch the most. And if I was to watch the rest of the season, I guess I would get to see it a dozen or so more times. So that's fortunate. But I think the big ones are the ending, the reveal that she's not pregnant, and that the bullets rip through the tummy there, and then the theme song. They're the top 3 for me. How about you?
Yeah, the theme song definitely stands out. Like I mentioned, it's so unique to anime, especially like not only back in 98, 99 when this was airing, but even to this day. Like, I don't really think of or know of any anime that come to mind that sort of hits with this same unique mix of genre and soundtrack and art style, and it's just done so well. So overall, the things that stand out, like Sunrise, a fantastic production house. They've done some phenomenal titles out there that I really adore. I really like the tone in this episode and just this anime overall, where It sort of treads the line between Western, science fiction,
Mhm.
comedy, hyper violence, some really cool combat, whether it be hand to hand or weapon based. Like it's just a fun, cool, and well polished episode. And the swerve with Katarina, where you go, oh my god, they've just killed a baby. What is going on? This show has taken a turn to no, it's actually a belly full of drugs. I liked that swerve, and I liked they didn't hold back. Like there was death, there was violence, there was fun.
Mm.
Yes, there was one random scene of mummy milkers that you had to highlight earlier, but like just overall, this package that they throw at us in 20 to 24 minutes is just really great and holds up. Like that's my biggest takeaway. This is 26 years old and it still holds up today in so many ways. Even though the aspect ratio is different. It's it's not a 16:9, it's a 4:3 aspect ratio because it's so old. But like outside of that, if you told me that this was made last year, I'd believe you because it just looks great. It holds up great. The tone, the storytelling, it's all just like thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I'm struggling to even imagine how cool it must have been to see this back, 20 plus years ago. Like it would have been mind blowing, I think. We've been exposed to so many more cool things since then that it's kind of one of many, but for the time, like especially for if I had seen it, it's like going from Pokemon to Cowboy Bebop. It's like going from Big Bang Theory to Breaking Bad or something,
Fantastic comparisons and very well deserved and accurate, I think. Like a lot of people, for better or for worse, when you hear when you mention anime to them and they're not from that ecosystem, they'll think of Pokemon, they'll think of Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or hentai or something. They don't know that there's storytelling out there for adults with mature themes and stories that play out just like a Breaking Bad or some live action drama that holds up today. So I'm happy you listened to me and you gave it a shot. And I'm happy that you have been digging it. I want to know, are you going to keep watching? Are you going to finish all 26 episodes, JP?
I don't know. I can't answer that, Brendan. That's a tough one because like I said, this first one felt like a self-contained story, and it didn't leave me with like, oh, what's going to happen next? Because the only thing lingering as well is Spike going to finally find something that fills his belly. He's still hungry. So unless I just fall in love with that world and want more of that world, that's going to be what compels me to go back to it. But for now, I didn't feel like, oh, I got to like binge the next 5 episodes like I do with some shows. And I actually did watch the second episode and I wasn't paying enough attention to it because I got halfway through it and I was like, I don't really know what's going on and I'm not feeling it anymore. And I know that that's not fair to the show based on like how good the first episode was. So I'm not going to let that be like, I tried it and it lost me. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say there's a lot of things that I want to watch, Brendan. There's a lot of live action things that I'm already in the middle of. And I'll say that I'll add it to my list and it's going to look at me along with a few Studio Ghibli things that I haven't got around to. I haven't seen Howl's Moving Castle and a couple of those other ones. They're watching, they're looking at me when I go through my list, and one day it'll be Cowboy Bebop that I'll throw on. Because, especially after talking about it more, I'm appreciating it even more. So I think it'll definitely be something I can tell you one day that I started episode 2 and it's great. The corgi, so cute,
Iron's great. Like Edward that you meet later is great. Faye Valentine is a fantastic addition to the team as well, and just getting their backstories about how they came to be. Like there's some really good, powerful storytelling, and even though each episode is standalone in some aspects, it does all, like I said, they all are puzzle pieces to create the broader Cowboy Bebop puzzle, and it's well worth your time. But I won't get too disheartened because, yes, I know there's a lot of things you like to consume. You're a busy man, you're a father, you're working, you've got a million side projects, so I can't take it to heart too heavily. But like the main thing is you enjoyed it, you'd recommend it, you give it a thumbs up. It was a successful suggestion, you'd say?
Yeah, definitely. Like friends, if I've got friends or relatives that like anime, but they haven't seen this because it's so old, then I might say, give it a shot. Definitely first episode, give that a shot. I can recommend it. Can't recommend past episode 1, but I can definitely recommend the pilot. And for you, having rewatched the whole season recently, is there a point that you get to that it does get its hooks into you as far as the story becoming compelling and what's going to happen next and that kind of thing?
I think like with anime, there's sort of like an unofficial rule of 3. Like after, like give an anime 3 episodes because it's hard to get a lot of storytelling, world building, character development done within 24 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what probably makes this first episode of Cowboy Bebop so impressive, because they do get a lot of that done. Like you said, they tell a complete story in this episode, but after the 3rd episode, you'll start to know the stakes, the world at play, the main characters, and it'll start to sort of like the web will start to expand as far as who these people are, where they've come from, and also what's to come. Yep. They sort of start to paint the bigger picture here, and you get some introductions to the big bad and whatnot. So after 3 or 4 episodes, you've got the whole crew together then, and then it's just a journey for 22 episodes beyond that to get to the end of 26 episodes, or 26 sessions as they call it in this, because they just want to try and be cool. But yeah, it's worth your time. And like you said, JP, like for people that are fans of anime or people that are just looking for something fun to watch, it's on Netflix. So you can chuck it on Netflix. You can watch the sub or the dub on there. All 26 episodes are there. Avoid the live action with John Cho and co on there. Like avoid that like the plague. It looks all right aesthetically, but it's got no soul. So I wouldn't check that out first.
Does it have the same song, the same music?
It's got the same music, yeah. But it's like the Wish or the Temu version of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, okay.
It tries.
That's disappointing. That must be really disappointing, because people waited like 20 years for that. And,
yeah,
John Cho's awesome. Like, he's a great actor.
And he's committed. Like he gives it his all as Spike, and you can see Spike in him, but I think just the writing, the pacing, some of the other acting just doesn't sort of stack up in comparison. So it's a bit sad in that way.
Sad Cowboys.
Sad Cowboys indeed. But like, listeners, if you're curious, I scored it on my anime list a 9 out of 10. I love me some Cowboy Bebop. It's one of my favorites. It's probably on the fringe of my top 10 of all time, if we're going to sort of go broad lens stuff here. But if you're still unsure, if you're a fan of things like Samurai Champloo, Trigun, Black Lagoon, Space Dandy, and Outlaw Star, there's a fair chance you're going to like Cowboy Bebop, because they are the 5 most recommended. If you're going to like that, you're going to love this type of situation there on my anime list. I've watched all 5 of those. I adore all 5 of those. Samurai Champloo is also my top 10. It is phenomenal. And it's also directed by Shinichiro Watanabe as well, who did Cowboy Bebop as well as Samurai Champloo and Space Dandy. So yeah, he knows what he's doing. But JP, we're going to go into the last word, presented by our friends over at Japan Crate. Experience Japan through snacks and knickknacks via monthly package drops, courtesy of japancrate.com. And while you're there, be sure to use code 8bit15 at checkout. I need to get that code changed, but use code 8bit15 at checkout for now to save yourself 15% off and get global shipping for free, no matter where you are in the world. JP, what is your last word on Cowboy Bebop?
Bring back jazz. Jazz is so antiquated and irrelevant in like mainstream pop culture, but and I can't even claim to be like, oh, I'm a jazz like aficionado. I don't know anything about jazz, but I know that when I hear it, it's pretty damn cool. So I at least bring it into movies and soundtracks, because that's where it fits perfect. Like couldn't have a better addition, a better sonic addition than the jazz of this episode, I think.
Well said, and I completely agree. Put jazz in everything and just sprinkle a little bit of funk in there at the same time, and you're going to have a great time overall.
Bit of swing.
But JP, thank you so much for jumping on into the studio again. Episode 0 and now episode, I think, 32. So it's been a bit of time between drinks, but I'm happy that this one, touching wood, will see the light of day. I appreciate you as always, but one last time, do you want to shout out where listeners can find you and all the fantastic things you've got going on? Feel free to shout out what's coming up if you can.
Yeah, sure. You can catch me on social medias at Jono himself, Jono. That's pretty much the only place that you'll want to find me, and I'm not super active, but that's where I am. And as far as upcoming projects, that's where I'll be talking about games that I've worked on and, reveal trailers and all the cool stuff that will be hopefully coming later towards the end of the year for one or two of those projects. But I have to say thanks for having me back. Thanks for introducing me to Cowboy Beebop. And really cool to see the podcast doing so well because I definitely miss the Hungry Gamers. I definitely miss being part of that with you and with Ali and the conversations and the regular catch-ups that we get to have talking about games. And I kind of now have all these thoughts and opinions that I have to keep to myself because my wife doesn't care what I think about Baldur's Gate and Fallout. But it's good to see, the mic isn't getting too dusty over at Hungry HQ. And I'm glad that you're doing something you're passionate about and that has struck a chord with the audience. So thank you, dear listeners, for putting up with a outsider to the anime/hentai world.
Hey, all are welcome here. We don't judge. We don't judge at all. And I'm hoping I can have you back on here down the line again. But also, those gaming opinions that you don't get to share anymore, just call me on the phone. Yeah. Just we can act like we're just doing a one-on-one podcast on mobile form or game chat or something.
But you're not playing games anymore, Brendan, so you just have to nod.
I told you where I am. I'm like, you find me in Diablo, Fortnite, or Helldivers. Okay. You find me in them three.
I'll find you.
Yeah, find me on one of those battlefields. But also find me on them socials at More Than Senpai. You can find Jono, as you mentioned, at Jono himself. You can find all of the More Than Hentai greatness over at morethanhentai.life. You can get your hands on some delicious merchandise over there. You can also join the Sugoi Squad for the low price of $1 per month, getting exclusive access to perks, giveaways, and more. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe to this podcast as well as all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. Those ratings and reviews mean the absolute world to us. They take no time, cost you no money. It's just good karma, so pay it forward. But whether your anime be subbed, dubbed, or still yet to come, enjoy yourself, stay hungry, and much love to all the gorgeous waifus out there. Goodbye.